Hey, it's Jay. I wanted to spend a few minutes today talking to you about tensions. So, what is a tension? A tension is the difference between how things are in the world and how you think they could be. Sometimes we use the word challenge or opportunity or concern to describe a tension, but we use the word tension specifically because um, because of the difference between how it is and how it could be. Here's an example, just a rubber band. When you feel a tension, there's sort of how the world is, and then your ideas about how it could be. This creates tension. This creates a feeling, a difference between how it is and how it could be. When the tension's resolved, you no longer feel the pressure. So much of what we do in our daily lives, personally, professionally, in our relationships, in our work, is resolve tensions. We notice how things could be better, we work to improve them. Sometimes it's making money to feel safe. Sometimes it's having a good relationship to feel loved. Sometimes it's simple things like wanting your room to be clean and feeling good about that. So tensions can be felt both intellectually as an idea or emotionally, or some people feel tensions in their body. Um, and it's different. It's a different frame than saying something is wrong. It's more like this could be better. So sometimes when we talk about tensions in the terms of personal human development, we call the way things are right now, the present state, and the way things could be, the desired state. This is useful in working with individuals, but not so useful in a business context. So you may hear those terms in future videos, present state and desired state. When you're not feeling a tension about something, there's no need to improve it. There are things that might not be the way one person would want it, but another person doesn't care. For example, you might have a tension that your living room is messy and you'd feel better if it were clean. There are other people in the world who having a messy living room is just fine with them. They have no tension with their living room being messy. So tensions are different for everyone. I work with a social technology called Holacracy. It's a technology for business. And in Holacracy, we talk a lot about tensions and tension resolution. And we call this whole process tension processing. Not a very friendly term for when you're working with somebody one-on-one about something emotionally relevant for them. But to give it a little more space and a little more distance, you can think of it as tension processing. Calling them tensions also helps with taking some of the steam, some of the energy out of the issue. If you have a partner and you have something you want to talk to them about, if you say like, "Hey, I have a problem, can I talk to you?" or a concern, that can have a very different sort of loaded charge than like, "I have a tension." Yes, it's weird. Yes, it's sort of like jargony, but sometimes jargon is useful. So a few things to know about tension processing. One is that it's okay to have an incremental improvement. All you have to do is make things a little bit better so you don't feel the tension quite as much. And what this does is it allows us to do incremental improvement. It prevents us from having to design the perfect system or think to ourselves, gosh, if I don't do this just right, it's no good, or I'm no good. The easiest thing to do is just find one little thing you can do to improve it and make that improvement. Coincidentally, this is also the way that nature works through evolution and continuously evolving solutions. So if you feel a tension, make a little change, make it a little bit better, and the tension should go down and down every time you make it better and better. There are times when you need huge changes, and I don't want to discount that or dismiss it. But what's important to remember is that it's okay to make an incremental improvement. And a good rule of thumb, and this is something worth remembering, is that it only has to be better than what it's replacing. Whatever you're doing to change things, whatever you're doing to make your relationships or your environment or your work better, it only has to be better than what it's replacing. That's a win. So you can think in terms of small incremental improvements. This also gets into what's called dynamic steering sometimes, and that's just the idea that we can make a change, we can change our direction, we can make a change, we can change our direction, and we can steer dynamically. It's more of a business term than a personal term, but it's useful in both contexts. You also may sometimes notice that when you work to solve your own tension, that might create a tension for someone else. If these are people that you're in a relationship with, sometimes you might be hesitant to think, oh, if I do this, I'm going to mess things up for somebody else. Well, you often don't really know if you're going to mess things up for somebody else. And if you trust the person, if you have a good relationship with them, it's okay to create tension for them. So just be aware that when you resolve a tension, it might create a tension for someone else, and often that's okay. Now, I'm not saying it's okay to just do whatever you want in the world and get your own needs met and screw everyone else. What I'm saying is that you don't want to spend your life tending to others or being paranoid about how they might be affected and not getting any change for yourself. We're all adults, we're all fully autonomous agents in the world, and we can change things and we can communicate. So get your own tensions met, knowing you might ruffle feathers for someone else, and knowing that they have ways to process their tensions also. So something that's useful in thinking about tensions is to think about how will this look when it's fixed, when it's done, when it's changed. If it's a personal tension, what will you be seeing or feeling or hearing? Where will you be physically? What people will be around? And what might you be thinking that's different than how you're thinking right now? What thoughts might you be having that are different? This is a good way to put yourself into the situation where the tension's resolved, and then you can really see the difference and get more real about it. Sometimes this can be uncomfortable because it also causes you to get really clear about the discomfort that you're feeling right now. That can be part of the problem. And I'm not saying any of this is easy. These are just techniques that can help. If it's in a work context, there's this notion of the definition of done. What does it look like when it's done? So how are things now? How could things be better? And what does it look like when it's better, when it's done? It's also useful to state this in the past tense. For example, the living room is cleaned. You know that because you can look at the living room and you can look at it and say, is it cleaned? Yes or no. If it's something more general or more vague, like, oh, the living room is cleaner, well, is it clean enough? I don't know. You know, it's helpful to have a concrete outcome, and often these outcomes can be stated in the past. That's a topic for another video. So these are a couple ways of looking at tensions to see how do you know when it's done. A good question to ask yourself is, how will you know when you have this outcome? How will you know when the tension's resolved? So my question for you, having heard all of this, what are 3 main tensions in your life? Can you list them? Can you get clear about them? Can you get clear about an incremental step that you can take to improve them, to move towards getting the outcomes that you want? And can you tell me what it will be like when those tensions are resolved? Can you describe the feelings, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, the people that are around you, where you are physically, anything else that's different about the world when your tension is resolved? Okay, happy tension processing. Thanks for listening. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Give it a share. That would really help me get my message out. Thanks again. This is Jay, signing off.